Hi everyone, welcome to the next webinar in 12D's training webinar series. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at 12D Solutions. 12D's training webinars showcase common industry challenges, taking a close look at industry best practices and how these can be implemented using 12D products. The aim of these webinars is to upskill 12D users and broaden their understanding of the capabilities of 12D products. We run these webinars regularly and record them for posting through our website and on YouTube. The first 37 webinars from this training series, as well as the 32 webinars from our Industry Solutions series, are available on our YouTube channels if you missed those. During this live presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way. We'll put some instructions on the screen. We'll answer as many as possible of those throughout the webinar, and at the end I'll read out some of your questions to the presenter for his insights if there's time. Today's webinar, Recording Chains for Surveyors, will be presented by Paul Hardwick, who has been in the civil construction industry for over 16 years. He's worked as a construction surveyor on small and large-scale projects. He's also had many years of experience contracting to local authorities carrying out detailed surveys for pre-design works. Paul has been with 12D Solutions for 6 years in a training and support role. Today's webinar is about recording chains for surveyors. Chains in 12D model increase productivity for repetitive processes. This session will show you how simple chains can be created to solve surveying problems. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Lisa. So today's idea is not to show you the most advanced chain that you're ever going to see. It's mainly to whet your appetite to get the feel of how chains work and then to give you some ideas of how you can use them in your day-to-day process. So one simple example that I have is when you have a large panel inside 12D that you're going to be running quite often, it can take up a lot of room on the screen, but you only need it for one button push. So I'll give you a bit of an example of that. I've got a survey here and I want to check for crossing break lines. Okay, and then I'm going to go around and fix the crossing break lines as I find them. So the usual option here that I use is tins, check break lines. Okay, so you can see it's quite a large panel. Now I'm working on a big monitor, so I could put it off to the side here and just keep hitting check, check. But I want to make a nice little chain that makes my life nice and easy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out the panel first so you can see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to check everything in Plan View 1. So just select here, Plan View 1. Then I'm going to fill out the models that I want to check for, the things that I want to check for. So my little naming convention here is I put in lowercase x. So I'm going to check models for intersecting. So I'm going to type INT, intersecting strings. So I'm checking intersecting strings with valid heights. And the next thing I'm going to do is check for x duplicate points with different heights. And then the last one I'm going to check for is strings that are identical in all details. I'm going to give it a report file here. Actually, I won't give it a report file for the time being. I'll just show you that in a second once we get into the thing. The other thing, I'll just give it a color for my errors. And I'm going to tick this box here, clean models beforehand. Okay, so when I run this, I hit check, and it says finish checking. So I'll turn on those models, the X models, add all. And you can kind of see I've got a few around. It's a little bit hard to see where they are. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but in the output window, if I just pin that up, it gives you these log lines here showing you where these errors are. So if I click onto this log line here, it will highlight where the intersecting problem is here. Okay, so then I can go fix that. Then if I click onto the next one, it will then go to the next one there. Okay, so let's just say I'll fix one of these ones over here. Okay, so you can see this point just needs to be moved onto there. So if I just click onto another one here, so what I'll do is I'll just move this point onto there. Okay, so here's kind of the problem here. So if I hit check, it shows up the intersections again, and it's got the, oops, it's got the new, they've got the old ones here, and then the new ones down the bottom. So sometimes it can get a little bit confusing about which ones are still relevant, which ones are not. There's a little bit of a gap there, so it's not too bad. But if I right click on here, this is what I tend to do, is before I run the check, I hit clear window, and it clears out the output window. Then I hit check. Okay, so then it will only show me those 3 errors. Now what I want to do is put this into a chain, so next time I have to do some checking break lines, it just automatically does that for me and shows me the errors in the output window. Okay, so we'll just go do that. So chains are under utilities, chains, create. So in case you're not aware, chains are just a file that links a whole heap of commands together in one thing that just does them automatically or semi-automatic if you want as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is insert a new command. So this little icon here is the insert. So if I click onto that, and over here is the type. So there's a whole bunch of types that you can do. The one that I want to do is, I think it's under other, yes, it's under other, clear output window. So that's the first thing I want to do. Okay, so here's the command name. So as soon as you pick it, it just kind of fills in this here for you. And once you click off here, it changes the node over here. So the next thing I want to do is, after I clear the output window, I want to run this panel option here. So if I insert another command and click on my type, to run an option here, you can select the little plus next to execution, and there's this one here called option manual. So if I select that, so this brings up this part of the panel, and it allows you to hit the capture data button down here. So when I select this, the chain edit panel will disappear, and I can pick anywhere on the panel that I want to capture, and it will capture all of the information about the panel. So if I select anywhere on the panel, you can see it's captured that panel and given it the name here. The next thing I need to do is capture what buttons I want to press on the panel. So I just hit capture buttons. And you can see when I move onto that panel, any buttons that highlight yellow, they're available for pushing. So I can hit this one here, check. And you can see here it's got the check button stored. So I'm going to give my chain file a name, and I'm going to call it check break lines for the view 1. So the good idea would be to save this off to your user lib, then that way you can get at it from any project that you're in. But it's just an example of how easy it is to create a little chain that could just come in handy. So I'll just write that away, and I can finish this panel here. Okay, so to run the chain, I can go to utilities, chains, run, and if I select this little run option here, it pops up this panel. Then I can fill out the chain that I want to use. So if it was in my user lib, I could just browse out and select one from my user lib. Okay, so I'll just put that one there. And you can see it's so much smaller than the other panel, so it's nice and easy to keep out of the way. So I can just select run there. And you can see it's cleared the output window and put those errors in there. So if I click onto this next one, all right, so that's the next one I'm going to fix. So if I zoom in here and I go to move point and put him onto there. Okay, then I hit run, and now I'm only left with 2, so I go to the next one. All right, I'll just move this one back a little bit. Now don't criticize, this is just an example. You might want to do a little bit more investigation of what I'm doing, but you can see the process here. And now I'm only left with 1. Go to here, and I'll do a move 3D on this one, and put it onto there. And run. Okay, so you can see there that it's running the chain, and now I've got my errors here, so it's clearing the output window and then rerunning that chain. And it's so simple. You know, it's just everybody should have something simple like that for when you do a process like that. And once you see what you can do with these things, you'll come up with little ideas along the way that you can use them for. Okay, so one of the things you can do with a chain is, say if you decide, oh, I don't want to use plan view 1 anymore, I want to use a view called survey. Okay, so if I add all of my data into there, right, and I hit edit, so now I've decided, oh, I'm not using view 1, I'm going to use survey, so I need to edit my chain. So the great thing about the option manual is I can just highlight it here and then hit preview, and it brings up the panel exactly how it was all filled out, and I can just change this to survey. And all I need to do is hit the capture data button the capture data button, and recapture the panel. I don't need to capture the buttons again because the button hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the data on the panel. So if I write that out now, you can see it will now work on plan view survey instead. So you're really easy to edit and change, and that's what I really like about the option manual. Just bring up this one here as well. So I'm using the insert option where I insert the options that I want to use. There is also a little record button here where you can actually start recording and then go off and do a whole heap of options, and it will record every option that you use and then put them in the list down here. Now the only problem is if you make mistakes, it's also going to record the mistakes you make as well. Then you have to go delete them. So I prefer the option manual, but it's up to you. There's a lot of different options there to play with. So there's one simple use of chains. Okay, let's go have a look at another one. Okay, so I've just got an empty project here. So there's nothing, models to remove, models to add. So I'm going to read in a DWG, data input DWG. And I've just got this subdivision here. Okay, so there's my data. So it's going to close this data input and add all the data to plan view 1. Okay, so if I toggle on my Z values, you can see I've got a whole heap of heights of 0 here. So I'm going to do a bit of a DWG, bit of a cleanup to this data. So I've got a whole heap of everything, so a whole bunch of things that have got 0 heights on them. And so I don't want those. And the other thing I have, if I do a string inquire, so I'm just using F2 for a string inquire. When I pick on the strings, you can see that they're segmented. Like, so this runs from this point around to here, and then this one runs around to here, and there's another string here. You can see it's all just segmented and broken up. So what I want to do is join these strings together so it makes it a little bit easier to edit and also to set out as well. So I'm going to have a little chain that cleans up my data for me as I go along, as I bring in DWGs. Okay, so there's a few options that we're going to run on this. So the first thing I want to do is null all of the points with a 0 height. Okay, so I'm just going to go to utilities, chains create. Okay, so I'm going to call this one DWG fixup. Okay, so I just hit insert. Now I can bring up the option that I want to use. So I can go to utilities, H to Z, null, heights, height. Okay, so I'm going to set this panel up first. So I'm going to null everything in plan view 1. So there I just middle clicked in the box and then middle clicked in the view to accept. Or I can just pick the one here. So the height to null is anything with a height of 0. I want to set it to have no height. And I hit the replace existing data button here. Okay, so on my chain panel, once again, I'm going to use the option manual. And I can go capture data, pick the panel, capture buttons, and pick the null button. Okay. So if I write that away, the next thing I want to do is join all of these strings to each other, so it's one nice long string around the lip of curve, back of curve, and the boundary strings. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to use is utilities, H to Z, head to tail. So it's kind of like a global join where you want to globally join a whole heap of strings together. So once again, I'm going to use plan view 1. And down in here, I'm going to use the tolerance to say anything within a millimeter of each other. So if there's two strings that are within a millimeter of each other, I want to join them together. So I can just go replace. Over on my chain panel, because I've already got an option manual here, I can just go copy, paste, okay? And if I delete this button here, so now I've just got a copy of this one and it's option manual. So all I can do here is just recapture the panel. And if you click this little icon here, the ABC, see how it renames it for me to head to tail strings? So it's just saved me a few clicks having to come over here, click the execution, drop down and select option manual. So if I go capture buttons and select process. Okay, so I've got my my option manual recorded there. So, and it's, if I select over here, it updates the name. Okay, so that's the next thing that I want to do. After that, once the strings are joined together, in places you might have two vertices in very close proximity. So that what I want to do is filter out any points that are within 1 or 2 millimeters of each other. Okay, so the next option I want to do is utilities, A to G, filter, vertex filter. Okay, so once again I select plan view 1. And the dimension I can choose 2D or 3D. I'll select 3D. And so in the X and Y, I'll just put a tolerance of 2 millimeters, and in the Z, 2 millimeters. So there's a few options here with the with vertex attributes. What you want to do if it comes across with vertex attributes, if it's going to delete points, what do you want to do with the attributes? Do you want to ignore points with attributes? Do you want to merge them, or do you want to lose them? So I'm just going to leave it there as the default. So if it sees anything with attributes, it'll kind of just skip over it. There are other ones there where you can merge, get the attributes of both points and put them together onto the one point. So there's a couple of things there. And similarly with segment attributes, what do you want to do with segment attributes? So I'll just hit the replace existing data. All right, so this is my third option that I'm ready to do. So once again, I'll just go copy, paste, and you can see it's the option menu. I can delete this button, and I can hit the capture data down here, pick the panel, and select capture buttons, and select filter. And to rename the option here, I can just click the ABC, and you can see it gets the new name based off the panel that I picked here. Okay, so I've got those 3 options. So I can finish that one, and I'll write that away. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is, once I've finished all this, I might want to zoom the extents of the view or something like that. So I'll just show you that. We'll just add in another command, and you can go view. You can redraw all views. You can redraw a view. You can do calc extent. You can restore. There's a whole bunch of things you can do there. Okay, so the thing I might do is just calc the extents first, and I'll select the view, and see, I'll hit the little button here, and it changes the name here for me to calc extent view 1. If I do another one, and the other one I might go on and do is under views, redraw all views, redraw a view, and I'll just redraw view 1. Okay, so I'll write that away. All right, let's just see this thing and work. So I can either hit run from here, or I'll show you in a minute how we can run it again from the recut panel. So I'll just hit run, and you can see then it's got rid of all the null, all the 0 heights. And if I do a string inquire, it's joined all of those strings, and then it's also then gone and filtered the points there. So what I'll do, I probably should have shown you this beforehand. So if I go to models, delete, I'll just show you this. This is a nice little function as well. So on the recut panel, I can go to edit function and open up the read DWG panel, and see how it brings up the panel exactly how it filled out. So if I go to delete all models, then I can reread this data in just to show you. All right, so add them all in again, add all. All right, so you can see all the data's there. I'll just close down my chain panel there. Okay, so I've read all the data in. It's got all the terrible segments. All right, and I'll just go to models. Sorry, let's go to view info. And I'll select view 1, and I've got 685 vertices. Now let's run this chain. So on the recut panel, most of us surveyors usually shut this down, but designers love to keep it open, and it is very handy, especially once you start using chains. So if I go to run chain here and select my DWG fixup, it's done all the work there, and I'll just hit calc extent, so from 685 down to 566. And you can see my Z minimum and Z maximum have now been set to null. So you can see something so simple in a chain like that can just make your life a little bit easier. So let's have a look at another one if we want to add a few more things to this. So if we go to edit chain, so that's off the recalc panel, or you can go to your utilities, chains, edit, and select it from there as well. Okay, so if I want to add something else, So maybe I want to set some point IDs to this data. So let's go to utilities, superstrings, vertex ID. Okay, so I want to everything in plan view 1. The action is set, and my first vertex ID I'm going to set as 100. And I can tick the box here to replace existing vertex IDs. All right, so once again, I can insert a command, execution, option manual, capture data, capture buttons. Okay, select this little thing there, it's already got it filled out for me. So if I write that away, all right, so just double check, right, replace, run chain, and now if I toggle on point IDs, you can see I've gone through and given everything point IDs. So you can definitely see, you know, that's a nice little thing that you can do when you get data in, create point IDs, and you can use your imagination. So from there you could then go export all those points to a CSV. You can do heaps of things with these chains. I think we've got time for one more little example. I used to train, and I don't know if you've seen this before, but I used to train one that where you could toggle on, had a chain that set up your view, so you could, as you zoomed in, you could see the Z values come on, then the point IDs, then the string names. Now that kind of got replaced by these plan view favorites. So I've got some favorites here. Thought I did. User lib. So this one here is IDs, names, and Z values, and it also sets the scale to 250. So this little thing here. So when I'm zoomed out like this, you won't see the Z values point IDs, but as you zoom in to a certain height, you'll see the point IDs come on, and as you zoom in a little bit further, you'll see the string names turn on. So that chain kind of got replaced by plan view favorites, so they're great as well. So basically you can set up your view however you want it with the settings and the height that you want things to come on at, using these options here. So Z values, names, point IDs. So these were the ones that I used, and once to set them up, you zoom into the height that you want, and you can hit this size max button, and it will calculate the maximum height that you want to see text at, and it saves those off to the view settings, and they all get saved away. So once you've changed those to the way you like them, you can use your create favorites, and that's what I've done here. Is so I save all the settings how I like it, and I just saved a favorite, which was the one in my user lib. Turn on IDs, and you can see I cleared out all these things I didn't care about, and I just left the settings on that I did care about. So the plot scale and the toggle options here that I had turned on as well. So these ones here for vertex, Z value, these are all settings that were saved by those other panels. So that kind of replaced it, and then the other, to turn it back off, I can go to favorites, lib, turn off IDs and Z, and then it'll be back to normal default. Okay, and then to turn them back on, favorites, and as I zoom in, you can see them. So nifty little tool. Right, one more chain to give you a bit more of an example. So if we go to drafting bear and distance labeling 2, now hopefully I've got a file here. I'll just browse off to one. See if I can browse locally. Sorry about this. C drive. So if I read that in, so it's got all my settings there. Okay, so if I want to put this into a chain to label my bearings and distances, once again, so I'll just go to Utilities, Chains, Create, and I'll call it label B and D. So once again, execution, option manual, capture data, capture buttons. Ooh, I forgot to pick the view that I wanted to. I actually want to only do the by model. So this time I'm only going to do the boundaries. Okay, I'll just hit capture data then because I did change that afterwards. I don't need to capture the button again. Okay, so the only other thing I need to do here is before I run this option, I need to clean these text models before I run them because this doesn't have a clean option on the panel. So I'll just show you how to clean a model. Okay, so I'll just push him up as well because I want to do that before. So if I move it up, you can see I get the option to move it up or down. So here I can go to Elements, Clean Model. Okay, and I want to clean models that start with text. So text, space, star. So any model that starts with text, I want to clean it. And if I click that little thing, you can see that it changes that. Now the one that I'm going to tick here is because at this stage, those models don't exist, so the chain will stop because it failed to clean those models. Now there is some commands to check with models exist and you can do all that sort of stuff. Now if you want to be a little bit lazy, and you can just tick this box here, continue on failure. So it'll just go, oh, well, the model didn't exist, who cares, let's just keep going. And it'll skip on and do the next option. So I'll just write that away. And finish that. All right, so if I go to my run chain and use my label B and D, if I turn those on at all, you can see my bearings and distances. Okay, so the great thing is if I then go move this point here, go run chain. So great little tool for being able to do that, to be able to edit things and update as you're going along. Okay, so that's a very short version of chains and what you can use them for. So if you have any questions, I'll just go to the view. And as Lisa said, you can type your questions in there. So if you have any questions, or Lisa would read them out to me.
Thanks, Paul. I'll leave it open for questions at the moment, but we did want to keep this topic nice and short, so we may finish this off in a few minutes and get back to a couple of people by email. We have got some great in-person training courses coming up in Brisbane, Melbourne and Perth. I think we've got details there, and there's a handout available on the webinar outlining what's in those. You can register through the training page of our website or contact us by email for more information. And don't forget, our 12D Technical Forum is on again in Brisbane this July with the associated Innovation Awards. The closing date for those is the 30th of April, so enter now for a shot at an amazing prize. Paul, I will just read out this one question that's come through here from Ryan. Apparently when you're using copy project models in chains, it doesn't remember the ticked boxes. You can get it to run the search panel, but it won't tick the data. Have you got any advice on that?
Yeah, some of those panels are a little bit finicky about with tick boxes, especially in the grids. They can be a little bit funny. If you want to email the data to us and the question, because I think I know roughly what you're talking about. I'll just tab back. So you're going to models, utilities, copy project models, and then being able to tick things in here. So it is a little bit of a tough one with these. But yeah, if you want to email me, we can have a chat about this one later on. So you can email me at the qld.support@12d.com.
So we'll put the recording of this webinar on our website and YouTube channel in the next few days. And our next two training webinars are Batter Slope Tadpoles on the 28th of March and Drainage 2D Advanced on the 3rd of April. So feel free to sign up for those and many more through our website. We'll keep you posted on that through email and social media if you're subscribed, and if you need to contact us in the meantime, our details are on the screen now. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.